Got the thing? All right, cooking with gas. Welcome everybody, it's August. It's August. Yay. All right. So what do we do at the start of every meeting? After I run my mouth, what do we do at the start of every meeting? Thank you. Question. What were the name of NBC's radio networks back in the day, and how are they different? Okay. Yes, that's part of the red and blue. But how are they different besides the color? Why would you be on red versus blue or vice versa? Thank you for playing. Close. Yes, you are correct. They were started in 1926. The red focused on entertainment and music and cash. And the other one was public affairs, news, and stuff where they couldn't or wouldn't run advertising. So one was the profit center, one was the public service channel. But wait, there's more. In 1943, NBC was forced to sell the Blue Network due to FCC regulations. I'm assuming monopoly or whatever. I didn't go that far. And Edward Noble purchased the Blue Network and turned it into ABC, which I thought ABC had come much later, because I only knew of ABC from the TV side, but obviously there was an ABC radio for a long time as well. So I'll then learn something too. Okay. Let us begin. Everyone is signed in, yes? Yes? Everyone? 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 No. Who said no? Who said no? When you get a chance, just sign in sometime. Yes, what he said. Nice name tags. If you are looking for one, that you have one, hadn't gotten it, they're back there. He's the tag man. Okay, everyone got the minutes I sent out on Sunday? Any changes, any issues, typographical errors? Beautiful. Oh. I never do it, but okay, fine. Moved and approved. Yes. Head nodding works for me. Okay. So we'll go through some old business stuff, some new business stuff. Randy is our member of the month. I've been looking forward to this because he's old TV transmitter dog, as am I, so I'm very much looking forward to his presentation. Jacob has returned for an encore performance of the Western Electric history, which he did at our swap meet, and it was so good. Unfortunately, it's kind of a limited audience and venue. He graciously came back and is going to do it again. He said he made a couple of tweaks, a couple of updates, so it's not even the same exact presentation. Is gooder. And then we'll do our announcements, and we'll do the show and tell, which it's metal radios and record player radios, and I see a bunch of beautiful ones over there. Very, very cool. But I'll get to that in a minute. That's very cool, whatever that is. Okay, update. We have 97 members now on Facebook. Got 2 more the other day. As you know, Paul is retiring at the end of the year as treasurer. We're still looking for a person to be his replacement when the elections come up in the fall. So if you're interested, give it a thought. You can talk to him about how much workload it is or it isn't. But keep that in mind, because come January 1, no está aquí anymore. So, and I don't do math, so there you go. And we talked about the swap meet, October swap meets. We kind of covered all that last month. I'd like to welcome a new member. Don Bullock, where are you? Stand up. Okay, don't stand up. He's one of the new Facebook members, and he actually joined the club. So he is here, and this is good and exciting, and hopefully he will enjoy it, and we won't scare him away.
You're not going to scare me.
Yeah.
He's another ham, too.
Oh, you're a ham.
Oh, yeah.
And you also do amateur radio. Excellent.
Yeah, same thing.
All right. Do you want to give us a couple seconds about you, who you are, what you do, where you came from, how you found us?
Well, I'm in the Island Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the Coast Guard for 11 years. I worked for Lockheed for 40 years. I retired in 2002. I've been a ham since 1956. You can do the math on that. I'll do math on that. That's about it.
Excellent. Excellent. So we do a segment, we started in January, we're going to keep doing it. It's called Member of the Month. And that's basically where a person gets up and talks a little bit about themselves, because we realize all these people are here but don't know much about each other beyond, playing with the radios. Randy is the person for this month. So if you want to start potentially being a person, we can get a more detailed description of your life. Talk slow, use big words. We're good. Okay. Thanks to Paul and his infinite engineering, he has made some modifications to our amp. As you know, we've become a little more sophisticated in our configuration here with the zooms and some of the other things. So he's modified the amp to allow us to do some of these other things more easily. We can take audio now directly in from the PC. Before, it would feed to the projector and we'd put a mic there on the speaker. Not the best way to do it. So now we can actually take a line output from the PC into the mixer. We're recording line output into the camera, so it's literally coming from the mic, not the camera mic, so the audio is much better. And it's just giving us some capabilities that we couldn't do before without kind of making it weird. So cleaner, tighter, better design, lav mic, handheld mic, PC audio in, line out for the camera, and of course, obviously powering the speakers as well. So he's done that. Thank you, Paul, for that. Just taking us to the next level while giving us more capability and making it easier to do things. And what it costs, like nothing. Your time. It's all repurposed parts, not junk. All right, again, he's out. Who wants the job? Give it a think. I have moved. The only reason I put that on there is because as poor Aries was waiting for me to show up because I was late, I relocated from Ackworth to Calhoun, so the drive here is a little longer. Not nearly as long as some people still, but it just, if I show up late for a meeting like I did today, you'll know why. So, and all my stuff is in a pod. Oh, I hope those radios don't disintegrate in the 100-degree temperature out there. I actually changed that last one. I posted the last month's meeting on YouTube. I was waiting for Brian's slides that I could go and put on top of it. I hadn't gotten them, so I just went and posted it as is. So that bullet point's actually wrong. But last month's video is out there. If you didn't see the meeting and want to see it, it's out there. For those who are new, in January, or somewhere on there, we started recording the meetings and posting them on our YouTube channel for people who either missed it or just are really too far away. We actually got a very nice comment from somebody in Alabama who doesn't have a radio club and participates remotely by watching our videos, and he really appreciated that. So that was the idea, to try and engage more people outside of the ones that can just come here, because not everybody can come to this place. Swapping communication. So after this meeting, I'm going to go ahead and publish, start sending out our flyer. Jim already has it on the website. We are going to be having free tube testing. That'll be one of the calls which we hadn't done. So there'll be a tube tester there. People want to come and test their tubes. Might be a nice little push for some people to come. That was, Paul, I think you two had discussed that, or Paul. Anyway, yeah. So that's another little plus. Just a reminder, it's outdoor under the pavilion. There will be no meeting in October because that is the meeting for October. And free for vendors, free everything. Worked out very well last year. We were all very happy with how it worked out. So assuming there's no rain or it's not 100 degrees or whatever. What? Yeah, that's true. We'll do that. But anyway, I'm going to start advertising this. I'm going to send out an email with the image, so if you all want to take it and then send it to whomever you know by email or whatever social media you want to use, that would be great. So I'm going to start that as soon as I get home today.
And Wilma Fine, who are the recording engineers, the first 10 records that Mercury recorded with director Raphael Kubelik conducting Chicago, they didn't have an Ampex machine yet, because an Ampex machine was very expensive. It was almost as much as a house in 1951. But they knew a guy, Bill Putnam at Universal Recording, that did have an Ampex machine. So the first 10 Mercury records were recorded remotely. They set the microphone up and they sent the signal over one of these leased telephone lines across the street in Chicago to record the very first recordings of the Chicago Symphony in high fidelity with Kubelik over the same leased telephone network that Bell had built. Later on, You saw these leased program lines, radios used them, TV used them, all the way until we went digital in the 80s. So they survived a long time. This also solidified the market for classical music being associated with the post-World War II hi-fi movement. So you had GIs that went over, they heard all these performances in Europe, and they came back and they wanted to do this in their house. Yes?
They have to lease a line for the left channel or lease another line for the right?
Yes, they had to lease 2 independent lines. But actually what happened was in the original demonstration, they had 3 speakers, and they used the center channel. So they would have had to lease 3 lines in order to do that. And they were fighting telephone switching noise that was inherent on these lines as well. In fact, in the early Mercury recordings, you can hear relay clicking from the crossbars that it was going through. This led to the wide-scale adoption of the Fletcher-Shearer multicellular horn being preferred for low distortion theater sound applications. So all the theaters said, hey, we want this in our theater. Supposedly the speakers and amps still exist. We already talked about that. A guy in the 50s restored them to operation. So maybe one day someone will dig them out of the basement and we will hear the Harvey Fletcher speakers again. The breakup of ERPI. So Western had their sound service company was Electrical Products Research Incorporated. You had to lease your sound system from Western, couldn't, much like your telephone. The United States government sought to break up the monopoly that Western had on theater sound. A consent decree forces Western to divest certain holdings, including loudspeakers and their associated amplifiers. Stock holdings affected were sold for $1 to a group of engineers that were working for Western. So they said, well, if Western can't have this, we'll buy it. They formed a new company called the All Technical Services Corporation, which became Alltech. And these engineers held the patents, and they also held the exclusive rights for sound system service. So if your Western Electric system broke down, you would call Alltech, and they would come in and fix it. Many times they would come in and replace parts and charge you even though they didn't need to be replaced. It was kind of a little bit of a shady company at the beginning. In 1941, All Technical Services purchases Jim Lansing's struggling Lansing Manufacturing Company to become Alltech Lansing Corporation. Jim Lansing, he started JBL. He was really good at engineering. He was better at engineering than even the Bell Labs guys, but he was terrible with money. So he kept running out of money, and they bought him out, and we became Alltech Lansing. Jim Lansing leaves and forms his own company, James B. Lansing Sound, but unfortunately he committed suicide in 1949. The guy that took over the company, Thomas, I can't remember his last name, Bill Thomas, who took over the company, because of Jim Lansing's life insurance policy, he was able to turn it into JBL. So sad, tragic end. But that's how we got JBL and Alltech. So, Alltech Lansing and James B. Lansing Sound continued to manufacture both high-fidelity home equipment and also theater sound. They used the Shearer technology well into the late 1970s. If any of you are familiar with Alltech Lansing voice of the theater sound systems, those are a development of the Shearer system. Both companies can trace their modern products back to historic Western products. The 555 became the the Lansing 801 and then the Alltech 802 series drivers. The 594 became the JBL 375. And the 26A multicellular horn became various Alltech and JBL multicellular horns of different themes and variations and sizes. So even after the divestiture, Western continued to develop, market, and sell high-fidelity amplifiers and speakers for residential and commercial applications. How they got away with this, I'm not really clear, but they did keep making sound systems, just not for theater sound. They were made for home hi-fi, radio station use. The big thing at the time was FM radio. Western said, we need something to monitor FM radio and high fidelity. So that's how a lot of this was introduced. We saw the development of the 124, the 140, the 142 amplifiers, the development of the 700 series of speakers, and development later of the 350B vacuum tube, which is an improved 6L6, 349A vacuum tube, which is an improved 6V6, and the 348A, which is an improved 6J7. However, for the driver tubes like the 348A, there were slight differences in them but they're basically swappable. They also developed the KS series horns, which we're going to show you on the next slide. All these products were sold through Gray Bar, so you could go, because of this decree, you could go order anything out of the Gray Bar catalog, even if you weren't a company. They didn't like that, but they legally had to let you do that. These are some of the absolute best sounding Western Electric products. So back then, the engineers knew that this stuff sounded good, and they would personally go buy a lot of it out of the Gray Bar catalog. So if you wanted a 300B, you could go order one, although it wasn't easy. So this is the 757 loudspeaker system. This was used for studio monitoring. I have a friend who built a set of replicas of these. I own a pair of the horns that go in these. They sound incredible. They sound very good. So these were basically made for studio use. Here's some other horns. These are full range drivers that also could be used as woofers. These are the horns, and then here, when you put them together, combinations. So we'll zoom in on that. We have the 728, 756, the 755, the 754A and B. So these are different full range drivers of 12-inch, 10-inch, and 8-inch that could also be used as woofers. Here's the horns. These are used in different applications. They also had another driver, the 713 series, which was by this time permanent magnet. And then here's, you could, notice it says for indoor and outdoor use. It doesn't say for movie theater use, because they couldn't do that, but you could. A lot of the military ordered a lot of those for military base installations, and distributed by Gray Bar. So the 755A loudspeaker, people love these. They're 8 inches. They produce the human voice incredibly well. I've had several over the years. They're not really great for the applications of music that I listen to, so I end up selling them. But they are very nice. People really like them. Here's some of the amplifiers. I have worked on a 142 before. They sound very nice. Western did wind all of their own transformers in-house. So, existing Western Electric audio systems, what happened? So in the 70s, theaters closed. A lot of the theaters became theaters that showed adult films, and then they closed. So people went in, servicemen and scrappers, they took home the old sound systems. In the late 1970s, Walt Bender and his friends discovered that Western Electric systems sound really good. At the same time, the Japanese discovered this, and they salvaged systems that weren't destroyed during World War II. Western actually had an exporting arm that sent sound systems to Japan. Tokyo had a number of them, and so there were some Western installations from the 30s and 20s that lived their entire life in Japan. So, in the early 1980s, Walt and his crew, they form a team to scout for Western Electric across the United States, and a lot of it gets exported to Korea and Japan. And a network forms of wealthy collectors that pit scouts against each other to find gear at any price, which makes the value of specific items go through the roof. So essentially you have all these people that want all of this stuff because it sounds good, and they form these groups of people to compete against each other to buy it, so that the end buyer ends up with it. Money is no object to a lot of these folks. Cost no object, it's a good sound. So this is the lobby of the LG headquarters. So if you have a dryer or washing machine or anything, refrigerator made by LG, you unknowingly contributed to funding their Western Electric Museum. So this is their lobby. You can see they've got a Miraphonic set up here. That's a 25 horn Miraphonic. You got the 12A, the 13A. This is a 16A horn with the 597. There's a sign, and there's more over here. Here's some 91s. So if you buy LG, the president can buy more Western. And now I thought that's very funny. Yes, Randy pointed out that Nipper is sitting here. You would have never seen that in the real world because RCA and Western Electric were bitter competitors. So I think it's very ironic that Nipper is chilling in the middle of this 13A horn. Oh yeah, there's one here. So, yes. So here's the Audium. This is in Korea. So you've got some 16A horns. You've got some 43 or 46 amps here. These are some Shearer systems over here. This is a jazz kisa. So the Japanese developed jazz kisa, which means bar or like restaurant. And this is a Western Electric 16 horn with a 106 amp, and I think there's an 86 down here. And so you can go to these bars, you can have a drink, and you can listen to Western. There's hundreds of these bars all over Japan. There's actually books photography books that people sell where they just go photograph these listening bars. It's a very like ritualistic experience. You go in, like no one talks, like you don't talk. You can request albums, typically jazz. You can see Cannibal Adderley album up there on the right. And the owner will play the album and you enjoy the owner's very expensive sound system. So this is called a jazz kisa. And the modern era, people my age and a little bit older, the 20s and 30s millennials, are really interested in this. So this is really taken off with millennials, and you even have some folks that are making reproductions of this equipment because they want to hear it in their own home because of the jazz kisa culture. A gentleman up in New York named Devon Turnbull, and he runs a company called OJAS, O-J-A-S Audio. And Devon has really made this huge culture of this, and there's a lot of people buying his reproductions because they want to have a jazz kisa type experience in their own house. So this is very popular with millennials. There are certain stores that have even contracted with Devon to put systems like this in their stores. Supreme, which is a clothing store, is actually doing this. So there's another side view. Got a nice RCA 44 or BX here. Got a nice Western Electric wall phone. Of course, we got, hey look, there's that speaker right there. And then here's a big 16A. There's just a nice photo of a Blue Note playing on a Garrard turntable. So, why does this relate to us? Consumer hi-fi hobby picked up heavily past World War II. Western still found its way into homes. Many radio collectors also enjoy hi-fi. So some of us here, like Sam, me, Sam, Paul, some of us, other Paul, we all really enjoy hi-fi. It's a uniquely American invention. Without America, we wouldn't have had to reproduce sound. Obviously, the British had their own theme and variation on it, but it really was the Americans that led to this being a thing. Modern bombastic theater sound influenced by Stokowski's performance. So if you ever go to the movies, like you go see the Atomic Bomb movie, the Oppenheimer movie, it's like crazy loud. A lot of that was influenced by Stokowski's bombastic theater sound. Stereophonic sound was not a gimmick from the late 1950s, but rather a highly researched topic on playback that goes to the 30s. So sometimes on the Facebook groups, and I like to say, someone says, oh, I found this mono block, I need to find another one. I'll say, well, stereo is just a passing fad. Don't worry about it. Mono's where it's at. But no, it really has been researched for a long time. Yes?
Is there a proper Oxford or a registered definition for hi-fi?
That's a great question. I guess you could just say high quality sound reproduction.
But is it synonymous with stereophonic?
I would, no, it is not synonymous with stereophonic because we saw the term hi-fi being a colloquial term before stereophonic was released to the public. We didn't start seeing stereophonic recordings marketed in a mass form until about 1957-58.
1935, the Zenith Z1000 had a switch on it, and when you switched on a high-frequency driver, it was labeled high fidelity.
1935 Zenith.
But that's way early compared to what you're talking about. That is the first time I've been able to document these use.
Wow, well, that is amazing. We need to put that in the PowerPoint. Thank you, Paul. So Zenith had the term hi-fi on one of the radios in the 30s. Yes.
Back to Leopold Stokowski. I believe that he was the guy who wrote Walt Disney back in the 40s.
Yes. Fantasia. So if you guys remember Walt Disney Fantasia, I should have put that in here too. Stokowski recorded that soundtrack, and Western had special, they used an 8-track, literally 8 tracks of audio to play back the Fantasia system. for their movies. It also, Fantasia forced Hewlett-Packard to create the 200B oscillator, which could go down to 20 cycles instead of only 30. Yes.
Those 8-track Fantasia recordings, are they still around somewhere?
They're digitized on YouTube. You can listen to them. I'm sure there's LP releases of them also. Yes.
And a good chronology of Vitaphone through Western Electric's history is done through the Warner Brothers cartoons. Title page that you see pop up will tell you the sound recording at the time that they did that, so it changes as cartoons.
Yes. So yes, with the cartoons like Bugs Bunny will say Western Electric Sound System. Some of them say Mirrorphonic. Some of them say Wide Range. Vitaphone. Absolutely. That's a great point. So we talked about the younger generations getting interested in this. So we talked about Devin. My friend True, he does reproductions of Western horns. He does them out of cast metal. He does a really good job. So DIY culture inspired by the work of the Bender family. But importantly, have fun and learn. If you don't have fun, then you're not going to learn, and vice versa. And if you want to know what something sounds like, then play around with it and see if you like the way it sounds. And sometimes you might find a speaker that sounds really good that nobody knows about, and that's kind of fun and cool. It's a sleeper, as we would say. So so I've got a little quick show and tell up here, and then I've got my resources here. So I'll play. You might want to scoot over because you might die. So this is a Altec 601 speaker. It is it's a coaxial driver, so you have the bass surround and then you have the tweeter in the middle. This is owned by Sam. So Sam graciously brought this for our demonstration. Like we said, the tweeter in this can trace its way all the way back to the 597, and then the 12-inch driver itself is related to some of the 700 series Westerns. This is the 91A amp, so I'm going to turn it on, and we can play some vocal music through it. It might explode. Oh no, this is high fidelity streaming. This is 20. This is I know it's killing audio. So anyway, hopefully this works. By the way, you might notice that there's an unused socket. The gentleman that built this amplifier gave the consumer the option of using either a 274B, which is a 5U4, or 274A, which is the same as a 5Z3. You can't use both, but if you want to put an octal rectifier in, you can, and if you want to put a 4-pin rectifier in, you can use either one. So some people prefer one over the other. I just thought a 5Z3 was cool because it was older and it had the mythical hanging filament. So that's why there's a 5Z3 in there, provided by Paul Hart. So hopefully this works. I've not tested this. There we go. So here's some vocals. So, as you can tell, that's really nice vocals from this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So yeah, this is a completely 1940s setup, you know, in terms of the iron and the tubes, and there's also a 310A under this. That's from the 50s as well. Any requests for songs? Yeah.
How about that one with the switching sounds in the background?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll do the pictures recording. Let's see, picture. Yes, pictures at an exhibition.
I've got two copies of the same disc as far as I know.
Really? Oh, it's the orange and red one, right? Oh, you mean yes.
I've got two copies of the disc. As far as I know, there's only one disc.
Oh, can't take that call right now. 1935. So that's the first promenade from Picture Exhibition. If you're not familiar with the piece, it was written by Modest Mussorgsky as actually a piano concerto, and it was orchestrated by Ravel, and it tells the story of a guy walking through a museum and just looking at pictures on the wall. But that promenade theme that we just heard, that plays every time he walks to the next picture. So you hear him walking with that theme, which is in 6/4 and played by the trumpet, and then there's different, you know, actual painting pieces. It's about 30 minutes long. So, but that is from 1935. Obviously, we're listening to it in mono, but the real recording is in stereo. So, yes, exactly. Yes, way more people played the orchestra one than the piano one.
It's interesting that RCA in 1928 or so, one of their first classical recordings on 78 was pictures at an exhibition with Kusevitsky from Boston Symphony. I have that disc, of course, doesn't sound anywhere near as good as this, but it was a milestone. They had a lot of nerve to ever release anything with that kind of dynamics and everything on 78, but they did. Amazing stuff.
I think Ree had a question too.
It's a bass reflex box.
Yes.
It's supposed to cancel out the resonant frequency of the speaker. How well does that work? Any comment on that?
I think it works very well. Sam actually might could speak to that a little more because he built this. But this cabinet design is from Altec. So this is made from their published plans. I think bass reflex sounds really good. I mean, obviously there's better options, but I think for what this is pretty, I think it works pretty well. Yeah.
At least to me.
Sure.
Except that my left ear cuts off at 4 kilohertz, and my right ear cuts off at 3 kilohertz. So I'm rather limited as to what I can hear.
Hopefully the stuff you We stayed around those frequencies of the voice, though.
It sounds
You know.
great.
Awesome. Yes.
You say it was the speaker half of the good.
This is an Altec 601. So it's a 12-inch coaxial driver. So it has a tweeter mounted in the middle of the woofer. And it's got a crossover that's mounted on the back of the cabinet that crosses at 3,000 hertz. So
What do you think of that crossover network, which is an LC network? That introduces some phase shift there.
I think that isn't that designed out of it with the inductors?
Is it a simple crossover network? Is it coil and capacitor? Or more complicated?
It's very that particular crossover is very complex.
Very complicated.
And Altec was absolutely bananas about phase characteristics. And a lot of that hypersensitivity about that, as far as I'm concerned, I've never been able to satisfy myself that all the baloney that they published about that was really necessary. But that is a very unusual network. And it's baffling to me how the hell they ever came up with it.
How many components does the network have?
There's about four. An inductor that's tapped, and then there's a couple of capacitors. And when you look at it, it's not, from the schematic, it's not obvious what it's doing.
Yeah, and a lot of DIY people, like Paul was saying, the crossovers for these are fairly complex. A lot of the DIY folks just build their own crossovers. Some people do first order, some people do second order, and it completely changes how it sounds every single time. So a lot of it is just what you like. Or you might like the stock way that Altec did it. So if it sounds good to you, that's what matters. A lot of the Western crossovers in the early theater systems were very simple first order. They just put a capacitor on the high frequency, and they had an air core choke that was rolling off for the woofer. So very simple, very easy, duplicatable crossover network on the early systems. And actually, there's folks that they've measured the inductors and they wind their own chokes, open air core style, just open copper wire. So into biamping, some guys did that in the 50s, but that really kind of came about during the power wars in the 70s when we wanted to get the loudest sound possible out of everything. Sam.
Magnavox in the 50s was big into biamping when no one else was.
Oh yeah, like in the Concert Grand had biamping. So Magnavox.
Altec sold biamping crossover networks. And I've got a number of those things. I've never been very happy. I much prefer the simpler approach to sound.
Well, and also with movies, as we got more complicated, biamping came into play as well. So, anybody have any other questions that I can answer for them? Yes.
What do you think about these multiple speaker systems invented by, what, the guy in India? Where are they called?
In India. I'm not sure.
A multiple speaker system where you have lots of small speakers.
Oh, like DSP and like 5.1 and 7.1 surround.
Are you talking about the Bose?
Oh,
That's the word.
Now, I've got, hopefully as an addendum to the presentation I made, we're going to do a Bose demo in this room.
I'll save that for Paul's demo.
Hey, if you play Emerson like it's Palmer from the beginning, the fun one.
Which one?
That's from the beginning.
I got you. Yeah,
That's just a
let's do it
Fanfare and Common Man.
my best friend.
from the beginning. Look at that. Official audio. I'm sure we're gonna get an ad. Yep, classic. All right, here's some Emerson, Lake and Palmer by request after 2 Amazon ads. You may get copyright on this, by the way. So,
I've been flagged before.
yeah, just heads up. Guys, thank y'all so much for letting me do this. I just really appreciate it. Hopefully we can do more audio stuff in the future. I'm going to turn it back over to Lee, and thanks again. All 15 minutes.
No. This has the Acme voice extractor, so I don't sound as bad as I usually do. There are no words. There are no words of the presentation. Outstanding. All I know is that I'm trying to convince myself not to go down this path now that I have a house that needs a room filled with stuff. In progress of. So, another excuse to buy more stuff, right? Of course. Okay, let's jump to show and tell. I'm going to turn this around so we see Jim. Hello, Jim. And who wants to play Vanna? We need Vanna. Vanna? Anyone? 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 Aries. He hasn't learned not to sit there anymore. I'm going to jump on him. Whichever one. Okay. That one. That was good. Okay. Here, take the mic. Oh, yeah. Well, that's Mark then, right? Okay. Wait, don't talk yet. Need a mic.
Here. Okay, so I got a bunch of Zenith radios, and I was playing one of them really loud the other night, one that I got from one of our swap meets. Anyway, and the glass was rattling in the thing. It was, and I looked at that, and turns out the glasses were just sitting in the metal. They're supposed to be a surrounding thing like that. So I said, well, I can fix that. I 3D printed some gaskets with TPU, thermoplastic polyurethane, for all these. And then I started looking at all my Zenith radios, and I have one of these, and I have one of these, and I had one of those, and one of those. And so I said, well, I need to fix all these up. So anyway, I put some spares over there. If any of you have a rattle glass Zenith radio, there's some over there. You can make a club donation or something like that. But these go in there, and the original rubber gaskets were just, crumbly in their dust, right? So anyway, that would be for that one, right? Okay, so you have to bend the tabs back and without breaking them. That's the trick. Yeah, and this is because of the presentation today. This is off topic, but I brought in my Western Electric 560 AW speaker. I got this at an antique mall somewhere, but the only thing I got was the metal part. I didn't even know what it was, but it said Western Electric on it. Yep. And I did a little research, and I found out that Buford Chittister, the cone speaker guru, rebuilt these things. So I sent that to him, and he fixed it up. He built the cone, did the artwork on it and everything. So it says on the back, Western Electric 560 AW. This is the 24-inch. This is kind of rare, I guess. So once in a while, I'll hook it up. I have this goes with a gray bar radio, Jacob. So I have a gray bar radio that plays into a Western Electric speaker, and I can listen to the Braves in the 1920s year.
Is that original cone or replaced cone?
No, that's a repro by Buford China. All the originals are dust by now. Okay. Yeah. Buford passed away. But he did this like 25 years ago, and I picked it up in Charlotte. And I was just amazed that anybody could do something like that. And, so it's just a driver like Jacob was describing. It goes to a little wire, and the little wire is attached to the middle of this, and it booms the front. And then the back is like a re-radiator. Okay? So, pretty cool piece of gear. I think I paid like $35 for it or something like that.
You are so much an engineer, though, with the
Next one is Reed's.
Yes, this radio has a metal cabinet. Wasn't that one of the criteria for today?
Yes, it was.
And
National.
what does the sign say? Let me remember what I wrote down. It's a National SW54. It's got 4 bands, but it's an All-American 5 AC/DC receiver, so it's not much of a receiver. The 4 bands, of course, cover a wide frequency range, the broadcast band being one of them. And of course, some of the bands cover the ham bands to turn it around, except that the 75 meter band is only about a half an inch wide on the slide rule dial. So, not very useful for a ham radio use. When I bought this when I was in high school. I think I paid $30 for it. So, anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Gary Walter.
Okay, I found this radio the east coast of Florida, right around Cape Canaveral, many years ago. It's a 1947 True Tone. It is metal, and it's made by Western Auto. It's a fake wood grain. It's a battery set with 1.5 volt filament and 90 volts B+. Western Auto was founded in 1909 for catalog sales for Model T Ford parts. 1913, it opened a retail store, and they sold Wizard brand tubes. The first True Tone radio was actually made in 1931, and it was made by other manufacturers. Western Auto really never ever made their own. And that's it.
Who's speaker? This Steve. They're together. Oh. This is Randy's stuff. This one will hold. I know what's picked up. Thanks very much. It's your, yeah. That was the first hitting.
Thank you. These are 1929 Atwater Kent. This is an F2, which is a electrodynamic speaker. Serves as the filter choke for the radio, as they typically do. The two were purchased at 2 different antique shops in the area. The speaker I know came from a shop that's no longer there in Jefferson, Georgia. I don't remember where the radio was, but somewhere in the area. But the radio's a Model 46. Power supply took extensive rework to get it working. It weighs about 35 pounds. It's pretty heavy. The output transformer was replaced at some point in time by a service shop. There used to be a tag in it. I lost it, but it actually had a little thing from the service shop that he dropped into the chassis, I guess, as advertisement or whatever. It's also interesting that the radio assembly itself was for several different models, and they made a single-ended version, and when they went to push-pull, they changed the transformers, and then there's a tube island that's right up at the top on the right side that they would bolt in there, so they could make both a single-ended and a push-pull output section for that same radio. So that's it. The speaker is I don't know what the material was, but the cone was attached with something like a very thin leather type material. I don't know what they would have used in 1929, but it disintegrated. I mean, it was all rotted. I've got some pictures over there of what it looked like, and we're trying to figure out a way to solve that, and I was able to find a foam kit from an acoustics research 8-inch speaker. So, and actually was able to foam the speaker and reattach it and everything, so it actually, I think it still works. It did. So.
This is my Bremler Model 50 5300. Ari's, if you're careful and you open the lid, you can see the record player. So that's a little tiny record player. Be careful with that lid. Yeah, the hinges are pretty delicate, and it's got the loop antenna for the AM radio in that top. And when you close the lid, it would kill the power to the phono section. So that was 1947-48 model. So, and that's a Remler Scotty. Yeah, well, it's. I think it would play that particular one. I think plays 78s. Yeah. Right. Yeah, yeah. But that's 1947-48 model year when that came out, and it was like $34.95 or something like that. Who's next? That's yours. Well, there you go. Perfect timing.
So this is a Majestic 1947. It's got an AM radio and a phonograph for 78s. It was in really, really bad shape. Had it, hardware was missing. I still can't get the automatic to work, but you know, it plays well on the manual. You just put your record in there, and then I ended up putting a new needle in it, and it's just came out pretty good. I probably bought the dial cover from Mark a while back. It's been a while. But yeah, I'm not going to tip it because it's too big. And then last but not least, we got Nicholas. This is your baby.
I would have brought the whole thing in here, but it's about 5 feet tall and barely fits in my car, and I didn't want to deal with that today. So I brought just the inside. It is also like 35 pounds and not fun to move. What is that? I don't know what that is.
Looks like some sort of a bead.
This is a 1929 Gulbranson Model 292, or the inside of it anyway, and I got it for $20 on Facebook Marketplace. And I made the mistake. I didn't check if it fit in my car before I went over there, so it was a little dicey with like 2 inches to spare. But I got it home and had to wheel it in through the back door into the basement because it wouldn't go down the stairs. But this has been sitting in my workbench for about 6 months now, and I thought last week, oh, let's try to get it up and running for the SARS meeting. I did not get it up and running for the SARS meeting. I tried my best, but I got distracted by cleaning it, and that took I spent like 8 hours just scrubbing metal, and it's not fun anymore. So internally, it has some issues that I don't even begin to know how to fix, but I'm working on it, and hopefully by next meeting, I'll actually be able to bring it in working. So that's the plan.
Great.
I assume it's a console?
Yes, it was a full size.
I guess that's a wrap.
Well, thank you, everybody. Again, another outstanding meeting. Next month, radios with a personal story to you. What does that mean? We're going to have part 2 of Brian Harrison's Viacom radio presentation. As you know, the first one we ran out of time, so he's going to pick it up basically where we left off, do the back end of it, and then what we're going to do is take the 2 pieces and create a standalone video. It won't be quite as pretty because our first one was a little icky. But we'll have the presentation by itself afterwards, which we'll post out there on the YouTube channel as well. The YouTube channel? Geez, I sound like, you know. Still looking for a member of the month. If you would like to be that person, let me know. I'm going to go through the list and volunteer somebody. There's some stuff on the table if you want to look to see if you're looking for a purchase or whatever. There it is. And with that, we will see you in September.